I do not like the term hybrid because those of the ET Club use it too freely, and they are focusing on their DNA and biology, and on the specifications the club has imposed, and they do not focus on consciousness, who they are, how they think. Hybrid, I think each ET researcher has his or her own definition of them. I've seen that most commonly it is said to be a person who has ET DNA sliced with human, physically, or simple starseeds as hybrids. Starseeds, hybrids. Originally in Spanish, second half of 2022.
Why are there races, or it seems that there are extraterrestrial races, that hybridize with humans? A secondary race. What would be the purpose?
It is a very complicated soup. But as I have explained before, there are a huge number of anthropomorphic variants. Then there are those that are exactly like humans, just not born on Earth. An example of these are the Alfratans or Centauri, although there are others. And there are others that are physically similar, but inside they differ, like the Taiketans. Others that inside are like humans, but on the outside they look non-human. And those that look very unhuman. It's a range from those that look similar or the same to xenomorphs that look nothing like humans. So, what some claim that they hybridize to maintain a certain genetic line or to repair their own DNA strands, perhaps damaged for whatever reason, I see that as something logical and common. Apart from purely biological genetic reasons, there are also the reasons for hybridization to have the compatibility of having a specific experience, either as humans or as the non-human race in question.
But isn't DNA a reflection of consciousness? I thought that was personal and non-transferable.
And it is, but even so, as I have explained before, there is short-lived hybridization. Hybridization does exist, as well as artificial genetic alteration. It's just not very long-lasting. So many people or races will do it, if only to have the short-lived results.
But no hybridization would be done to replace these human biosuits, right?
Indeed, it does, but as I explained, the change does not stick for a long time, at most for a few generations. However, having said that, if you manage to align the signal and the intention of the soul with the artificial hybridization, then either it takes longer to return as it was, or it stays as something new. In other words, for a hybridization or artificial genetic change to be lasting or permanent, it must be accompanied by the stabilizer, that is the consciousness. This is the only way to make it permanent. That is why there is so much insistence on mind control of the human population. They themselves keep things like telepathy dormant because of the strong belief that it is impossible and that they do not have it. You can create a hybrid or a new race or change a race only by using mind control. It will take several generations, depending on factors, but it is achieved and it is permanent. Although, on the other hand, everything is a flow of consciousness, that is, nothing is really permanent. Change is constant.
Yes, but in the case of humanity, who wants to hybridize with us? A secondary species. Isn't it better to hybridize with the Antarians or Andromedans?
I don't know what the Antarians have to say about this, but the Andromedans insist that the human race, in general, is one of the best, genetically speaking. They don't need to hybridize with anything. What for? They just need to change their ideas.
That's new.
This is not new. In fact, it's been said by Alex Collier since the early 90s. I just insist that Andromedans have said it multiple times here since then. Why is it one of the best? The Andromedans don't explain it, but as far as I know, it is because it is one of the most genetically stable bodies, with good to excellent connection to source, and it is compatible with countless souls and frequencies. The human body adapts well to a myriad of habitats on different planets, something that other races fail to achieve. For example, the Andromedans have problems adapting to both gravity and oxygen quantities, percentage, making the human body model, in its variants, one of the best for colonizing new worlds and surviving deep space travel.
That's why there are so many races in these biosuits. Okay, very interesting.
That also explains why there is so much mixing of souls and frequencies among humans on Earth, because inside they are not the same species, or because their frequencies are different. However, they can still reproduce with each other. So, a human body is the only place where different races or souls can reproduce and live together as one species. And this in itself is part of the human experience and why so many races wish to have the opportunity to be a human being, if only for one incarnation or a few.
Understandable, yes. That also justifies that in this quadrant, we have more than 450,000 humanimorph races.
Yes, because the human race, in all its forms and variants, is one of the most useful and most sought after biological bodies. And about what you say here, some claim that they hybridize for the sake of maintaining a certain genetic line. How to maintain? When you hybridize, you make variations. You don't maintain a line. To maintain a line, you should not procreate with other races, right? Those who claim this are at least mostly, I haven't heard others, those who hold the theory that the Greys are genetically degraded humans, or from the future, and that they need to sample human DNA to try to patch up their dying species. What does fit in here for me is that, without them saying so, it is also claimed that they have no soul or are biorobots, which would point, in my opinion, to them having little or no connection to the original source, which would explain to me the degradation of their DNA. This without mentioning that there are at least 165 different types of Greys in this space quadrant alone. As for maintaining the genetic lineage, this is alleged, for example, in the case of the Windsors, who hybridized with Princess Diana's family to purify the genetic compatibility between reptiles and humans. For the compatibility of a human body, visible on TV, for example, being able to sustain a reptilian soul. However, as I have already explained, it is not so simple, this theory, because they mutate mentally from reptilian to human according to the stimulus and the frequency to which the being is subjected, which explains their shape-shifting capabilities, but that is another subject.
But about that theory about the Greys being degraded humans, what would you claim, Yazhi?
That yes, I see it as possible as a materialistic attempt to save their species. In some timeline, it is possible that there will be some kind of degraded human being. Well, if it's already happening today, in the future it's more likely. Just look at today's rampant transhumanism. As for those 165 types of Greys, I don't see any indication of that being true. I don't see it as feasible. It is obvious to me that they are not even from the same genetic branch. They are very different from humans, biologically speaking. Some species of Greys are even vegetable, metabolically speaking. In other words, they are not compatible. So their experiments with humans in abductions and so on are due to other causes. It is said that, for example, they are working as robots or slaves of other races such as reptilians, or that they are farmers who simply take care of the human farm, performing genetic repairs to individuals, not necessarily collecting genetic material. And these interventions, whether invasive or not, from the abductee's point of view, are done in order to help the subject, not to harm him.
In other words, were they once humans like us who lost connection to the source?
That is what is said on Earth about the Greys. In this case, I am referring to human theories from ufologists. I differ. Here, it is said that they are a very ancient group of species. Other people, like me, argue that they have always existed and will always exist, like any other species. A matter of time, that there are no beginnings or ends.